there, and welcome to the Fearless Artist Podcast, where we empower classical musicians to build their own thriving careers. I'm your host, Michelle Lynn, and together with Deanna Petre, we teach artists to conquer the entrepreneurial side of their careers and create the futures they want. We are two freelance classical musicians who have lived and worked in Europe for a decade, and together we started the Fearless Artist Mastermind, a coaching company created to teach classical musicians how to overcome fear and take action on building their dream careers. In each episode, we will explore the intersection of artistry and entrepreneurship, teaching you the fearless mindset with practical steps and strategies to build a sustainable career. Get ready to build your own artistic brand, find a supportive community of musicians so that you don't have to figure out everything alone, and earn a living that you deserve. We believe that you can be a thriving artist and not a starving one, and we are redefining what it means to be a classical musician in the modern era. Welcome back to the Fearless Artist Podcast. My name is Michelle Lynn, and I'm the host. And today I'm thrilled to have my friend Nicole Riccardo on. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for being here.
Hello. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh my gosh, me too. I've wanted to have you on forever, so really appreciate you taking the time. Nicole, her bio is extensive, but where to start? I found her on Instagram in, I think, 16, 17, 18. Became obsessed with everything she was talking about because it was straight to my heart. Musicians, marketing, getting money, real life stuff. She's straight to the point. She shoots from the hip. I love her so much. I started following obsessively everything you did, and I've been working with you ever since. I think I got your Instagram course back then. And of course, you have your flute performance career, but also your digital business. So welcome. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit and start there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And oh my God, Michelle, why are you so obsessed with me?
Because you changed my life. That's why I've got reasons.
You made it too easy. I had to. Okay. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much. I'm honored. I always love our chat, so I'm very excited. But yes, so I am musically, I am a flutist. I have my bachelor's and master's in flute performance. I got that at FSU, Florida State University. And while I was there, obviously you might be hearing Michelle talk about, I talk about marketing and stuff like, okay, cool. Well, how does some random flute player start doing that and like actually know what you're doing? Well, when I was in grad school, I was running a woodwind quintet. And it wasn't just your typical like, oh, I'm in school, we're gonna put together a chamber music thing, whatever. It was like pretty diehard. Like we commissioned new music, we were applying for grants and funding. We did a full freaking tour where we did guest artist residencies and master classes at other universities as students, which looking back at that, I'm like, who let us do that? But that's awesome. So a lot of that, obviously, that I'm talking about, it comes from marketing yourself. So even back then, I was doing all of the marketing for us and I really loved it. I just didn't realize at the time that that's what I was doing. But fast forward, obviously, graduation, my degrees were in performance, so was doing auditions. But the year that I graduated, oh my God, there were, I think, 5 total full-time flute positions that came open that entire year. So yeah, obviously I had to go the normal 9 to 5 route and I hated it. And it felt like a dementor was sucking my soul out of my body every single day that I went in. But eventually moved from Tallahassee over to Austin, which is where I am now. And I was working at this big medical company. We would have these like staff meetings, to talk about ways we could improve, whatever. And we had one that was related to like, how can we increase our demographic for LASIK and younger people, blah, blah, blah. And I just like dominated the meeting. I had my laptop, I had like numbers and notes and everything. And so, yeah, the owner pulls me aside afterwards and he was like, so, obviously you're kind of good at this whole marketing thing. Do you want to like start doing that? So I was like, yes, please, please, because I actually really did enjoy it, And so I am very thankful that I got to have that experience because they had this big outside marketing agency that they probably paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to. And so I got to start working with them and I was learning from them, right? And then obviously realizing even more, ooh, I really like this. So went to a few other places doing it until eventually I'm like, okay, wait, like I'm seeing results. I'm doing all of these things. I know what I'm doing because all of it's working. why am I still using this to help other people and these like businesses that honestly at the end of the day I don't really care about, when I can be first of all helping myself, but also other people that I actually do care about and believe in, aka classical musicians,
Right.
right? Because that's my background. So I started using all of the things that I had learned, that I had taught, that I had been doing. And it was the beginning of 2018, actually, January of 2018. I was like, all right, I'm done fucking around. I'm doing this. Here we go. I'm going to do this for myself. And so I did my branding, my visual branding, right? Figured all of that out, completely redid my website, started being very intentional with my social media. So that way, all of my online presence was a really good representation of me and what I was doing. And then I started pitching myself for opportunities. So for podcast interviews like this, or written interviews for clients, for booking, being a sub in orchestras, for booking teaching things. And so then by August, I actually was able to leave my job and become full time as working for myself as a musician. So I was subbing with a few different orchestras. I had built up a pretty good teaching schedule and I was working with a couple music schools in the area. And I had also booked a couple social media management clients that I was running their social media and their social media marketing. And they were classical music businesses. So after I did that, I started getting literally on a weekly basis people who were either just following me on Instagram or who I had gone to school with, just asking me over and over and over, like, how did you do this? How did you do this? How did you do this? Oh my God, you know? And so back then, I didn't know anything about digital courses, but I was like, okay, well, obviously, no matter how much I wanna meet with every single one of these people and tell you literally exactly what I did and be able to help you do the same exact thing because, like, listen, we all should be able to do what we love. Oh my god, being in a 9 to 5 that is sucking your soul out is the worst thing that you can ever experience. So, no, of course, I don't want that for anybody. Okay, seems the easiest way to do this is we're just gonna hop on Zoom and I'm gonna freaking tell you everything I did and whoever wants to come can come and I will just break it all down for you. So that ended up being the very first round of Create Your Career, my signature program. Now it's called Conjure Your Career and it's a little bit different, but anyway. So yeah, I literally one Instagram post. I put up one Instagram post, said I was doing this. I think I ended up getting, I think it was like 20 people, and that was the very first round. And so ran that. And by the end of it, there were multiple people who they literally were able to like quit jobs and they were now full time, self employed, working as musicians. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, not taking auditions and like, yeah, sure, I'll still like gig sometimes and sub and whatever. Cause yeah, of course, playing is still fun, but it's like, no, that's not my full time thing. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing is helping other musicians and creatives be able to do what they love and make a full time freaking living doing it. So, that's what I've been doing ever since. And now here we are.
So incredible because it's like you found your lane with the marketing thing. You're sitting in these meetings just by being yourself, being authentic. You care so deeply about anything you do. Anytime I've ever seen you do anything, you're going full steam ahead, 100% commitment. And then they notice you. This is how musicians can create their own opportunities. I mean, you showed up and you did the work, and they're like, boom, we need you in this position. And then you realize, actually, I can do this myself and earn more money. You have multiple six-figure businesses that you've created. Your clients start being successful. I mean, that is the true test of when something works, when you can replicate it, give it to someone else. And musicians, we know how much help they need. God bless them. And so, like, if you can make other musicians quit, give them the chance to quit their 9 to 5s too and do this. I mean, that must be so fulfilling to you. And you're shining, like you found your lane, you found your thing. I'd like you to talk a bit more about CYC and like how it's developed and also the Instagram course, because that's when I started working with you and that changed everything
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm. Yeah, so CYC was basically, I mean, exactly like I said, it was literally me breaking down, this is exactly what I did. I will say the social media portion, obviously, there is no one right way to do a thing, right? We all know that there's a million and one ways to do literally anything. Sure, I give you the overall framework, but when it gets into social media, just because I use Instagram doesn't mean you have to use Instagram, right? So, yeah, I have a thing in there for, okay, maybe you want to go the Facebook group route. So there's a whole, PDF handout for that. We do get into the difference between actual social media networks versus search engines because, say, things like YouTube, things like Pinterest, those actually are search engines. People are going to those and they're, I'm going on YouTube and be like, how do I get a red wine stain out of my carpet? Like that's what they're using
Yeah.
these for. They're not going onto YouTube to be like, oh, let me find my community. Like, sure, they might discover you there, but in terms of what we're talking about, true social media network where you are building a community, you're having ways to interact with people, in my opinion, I think it's basically Instagram, Facebook. Now TikTok potentially could be considered in there, but anyway, so yeah, CYC is literally giving you the full breakdown. We go through branding, we go through your website, and literally going into building a conversion-based website, SEO, conversion copywriting, developing your own brand voice. Like we're getting in there. Okay. I'm type A. I'm a perfectionist. I know how you feel about perfectionism, Michelle, but then social media and a whole pitching portion. And that also is we're getting in it. Like I literally have a whole PDF thing of different pitch templates for different things I've pitched for. We're going through negotiations, we're going through contracts, like literally using things that I have done for myself. So that is all in there. The new version of it, Conjure Your Career, you still get all of that material. It is now exclusively inside of there. So yeah, it just has a lot more accountability for you. And going more in depth. One of the things that I found that people struggle with the most in terms of when we're working for ourselves is time management.
Yep.
And figuring out like what the heck am I supposed to be doing when, like, and what I hear all the time is I wish somebody could just tell me what I need to be doing every day. So that's basically what it is now. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to go through this together and figure out literally exactly what you need to be doing every single day, every single week, every single month to, yes, keep your business running, but also to keep it growing, because I think that's a part that people neglect thinking about is like, yeah, we have to run it, but also like, are we still generating new leads? Are we getting visible? Are we getting ourselves out there? So we're including all of that, and you're getting a lot of accountability. You get, dance mom over here, making sure you're on top of it. So that's CYC. And then, yeah, the Instagram course, it's interesting because that actually was really born out of CYC, because a lot of people, once they go through it, it's kind of like, okay, cool. Like I have all of this set up now. My business is in place. I feel good about this. I have my digital presence set up. I'm sending out these pitches. I'm booking some clients, but like, now what? I want to dial it up a few notches. I want this to be easier. I want it to be more work smarter, not harder. I don't want to have to be sending out pitches for every single client. And so it's like once you have your baseline set up, if you will, that is your foundation. We want to start building on top of it, right? Compound effect. And this is also a lot of how I think about income, right? Stacking income. Once we have our baseline set up, our foundation of our recurring revenue that's coming in, cool. We want to start income stacking on top of that. I'm an Instagram girly. A lot of my people end up being Instagram people as well, just because that's, it's what I lean towards. Obviously, depending on the demographic you're trying to reach, if it's an older demographic, then you're probably going to be on Facebook. But if it's younger, if it's more our demographic, we're probably going to be on Instagram. And so the Instagram Marketing and Sales Academy, technical name, came about because it's not just a like, oh, here's how to take pictures and post them. Like, yeah, sure, I have that in there. I have my entire camera set up. I show you exactly how I do like flat lays and product photography and selfies and what camera equipment I'm using. And I show you, the outline of how to write a caption and here's some hooks and whatever. Sure, cool, that's all in there. But for me, when it comes to Instagram, like I'm a marketer, okay? I'm a strategist. And so that stuff is that's like your pre-work, if you will, So what it is really going into more so is how to use Instagram as a platform to actually market yourself and in a way that is going to book you clients.
Yes.
Because there's a very big difference between posting a caption on Instagram versus creating an actual plan for your Instagram content in a way that is taking into account, oh, this is my end goal. I want people to enroll in XYZ, or I want people to start taking lessons with me, right? Like it's a whole different level of being intentional, and content is going to build on top of each other, just like math. You learn addition and then subtraction and then multiplication, like it all builds on top of each other. It's the same way with your content when you're doing it intentionally. And at the end of the day, my goal for that program is I want people reaching out to you, asking how they can work with you without you even directly having to do like a full-on sales or launch or promotion, like, yeah, sure. We talk about that in there as well and how to set up launching. And I literally even have my like launch calendar in there. It's a whole like Google spreadsheet and it has templates for you on like post this here, right? Like it's a whole freaking thing. Again, type A. However, I'm like, even without having to do that, and even without having to be in a direct like sales promotional mode, I still want people reaching out to you. And a lot of that is going to come from how you are showing up
Yep.
on Instagram, since we're talking about Instagram specifically, and the type of content that you're creating and how you're talking about what you do, and just making sure that you're putting all of that out there, right? In a way that's still letting people know, like, this is what I do. And it's very intentional, it's very strategic, and it's going to lead to people reaching out to you. And I know, Michelle, like you've experienced this firsthand too.
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, I was going to mention on this episode, I mean, first of all, I don't know how you're managing to be good at everything across the board. I mean, Nicole's digital marketing business redid our website. You guys did our branding, which includes logo, fonts, our whole website you built out. I've learned everything you're describing about marketing. I mean, Instagram came very instinctively to me. I'm someone who naturally shares. I'd had a fitness account for many years in like 15, 16 that I kind of grew. So I understood the basics of it, but coming in with you and learning how to think about who am I trying to reach? What's the message that I have for them? How are they thinking? How can I get in their heads? And that's what I've loved about you from the beginning. You're so empathetic and you're so genuine and authentic when you talk to clients. Like you've never come across as this salesy trying to shove something down our throats. We've talked so much about the cold pitches that we get in the DMs. I still get them to this day. Somebody wrote me yesterday about like, oh, we watched your journey. We'd love to give you this improvising piano course. So it's like, you know nothing about me. I'm not even trying to improvise. And when you started talking with me, it was always just like learning about me, my problems. Back then, by the way, I was super stuck in not understanding the power of investing in myself. I think the course you sold, the Instagram Academy, for only $250 back then. And that for me was still like a gulp. I was like, oh, okay, like, is this worth it? And you were just so good at coaxing musicians. And this is a big problem with musicians because they don't think like this. And for you to be so gentle and kind of like bring people along, I think it's had such a massive impact because TFA has grown because you've walked us through step by step everything. Like our whole content strategy, now we understand all the offers that we have. We have Fast Forward, which is super low price point for those people who are still nervous about putting out money in something that's professional development, all the way to our mastermind, which is like, okay, let's actually teach you a career strategy and all of those things that go high level. So it's incredible how you've been able to like craft this whole business that offers, taught me how to run the business, taught me how to think like this, the message mining, hearing what your client needs and then really repeating back to them, like, I'm hearing you say this and here's how I can solve your problem. I mean, when I tell people Nicole has changed my life, like I was reflecting before this episode, but like every aspect of what I'm doing online, even to the point of like now we have 2 girls working for us. I've hired my first virtual assistant. I'm doing branding deals. I'm sending proposals. I'm sending the pitches. This podcast. Hello, like you've been with me this whole way. Like, how are you so good at everything?
Oh, it's too early in the morning. You're gonna make me
I'm like,
cry.
it's crazy. Like you changed my life. You've changed all of TFA's life because now we have such an impact because of your investment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just also have to say, just to go towards what you're saying, because I know that this is also kind of a problem that people have when they're investing in things. We've been working together though for years, like years at this point.
Yeah.
And I will say that when it comes to working with people, choosing somebody who's going to guide you, like we talked about before, there's a million and one ways to do things, right? You just have to find the way that resonates with you and resonates with your people. It's the same thing when you're going into like mentorship, coaching, whatever. I personally like the results that you've had and where we are at now. Like, that's not surface level, that's not something that's going to come from like, oh, I'm going to go buy this person's course and do this for, 3 months and then hop on out. Results like this, it comes from us knowing each other and me knowing on such a deep level, like what your goals are and what your vision is, your vision for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and really structuring everything and being very intentional with how we're setting things up to get it to that point. And also all of these things that we're doing and implementing, they don't happen overnight, right? Creating one program, that's not going to happen overnight, let alone creating a full product suite. That's going to happen over the span of years. Redoing a website, redoing branding, all of these things, they take a really long time. And so I do think that that is also just a testament to the length of time and the dedication and the commitment that you've put into it. Sure, I can tell you whatever's in my brain, but at the end of the day, like, if you don't do it, nothing's gonna happen,
Yeah.
So anyway, all of that just to say is a little like, um, wink, wink, nudge, nudge to everybody who's listening to this. Yes, I'm polyamorous in the sense that, like, I love learning from multiple people. I'm always reading a million books. I'm always listening to a million podcasts, right? But when it comes to who I'm actually learning from and implementing, I'm typically like, same as you, I'm going to find my person and I'm with that person for years because it's a different ball game than finding something and doing it for 3 months and expecting that's going to fix all your problems, or 6 months, or even a year. Like, spoiler alert, it's probably not. Okay, this shit takes years.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, I've been doing this since 2018. Michelle was just talking about you started with a fitness count back in like 2016,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
before you even started any of this stuff. So yeah, it's not overnight, but I do think that there's a lot to be said in terms of really developing those authentic relationships with people and actual relationships, um, and letting that kind of like guide and help build things.
Yeah. And it takes longer, as you're saying, but being authentic means that it's going to last. When I come into our calls, you remember, first of all, what's going on, which I often don't. So I'm always so glad that you're like, wait, we said this. I'm like, oh, yeah, we did. You know, and then hearing you talk about the Instagram course, I mean, I think the level of strategy that you have behind the content, like, I've done the course, but I need to go back through again because it's really like walking through the problems that your clients are facing. Where are they thinking? What are they struggling with? And how can you bring them to the next step where they would be willing to invest or willing to put themselves out there, rather than just kind of forgetting all that, because we evolve as artists, as people, as marketers. Now talking on Instagram is like, I do it every day. Like I've done it every day for 4 years. It's not an issue. And many of the people working with us are still freaking out about how they are being seen or saying the wrong thing on camera, or whatever it is. When you have someone who's in that baby phase, what were some of the ways that you could kind of bring them to the next step gently without overwhelming them, or their turn off at the sales pitch kind of thing?
Bring them to the next step, like in terms of investing.
I think mindset more is what I'm asking. Like, you've managed to convince and persuade hundreds of musicians with this mindset, taking themselves seriously, that you can make money as a musician. I mean, this is like the heart and soul of the message. Like, you don't have to be a starving artist. You've been saying this over and over, and you've got the results to prove it. So I think it starts with the mindset of teaching these people to think like this.
And so that's the hard part, right? Because when it comes to all of this, there's different factors and everything, right? Like, first of all, they have to believe in you, right?
Yep.
But they also have to believe in themselves. It's a lot easier to help somebody believe in you, right? Like, now everybody's that's listening to this episode, probably, thanks to what Michelle has said, believes that I know what I'm talking about. So I don't have to sit here and like pitch you on any of that, right? But the believing in yourself, that's the way harder part. But I will say, for me, obviously, it's very layered, it's very nuanced. There's a million and one things that I could talk about here, but I think one of the things that has had the biggest impact, and something that I have heard personally from the people that I've worked with over and over and over and over, is the fact that I believed in them, when I'm having those personal conversations with people and they're sharing their ideas and they're sharing their visions. And, oftentimes it comes with the, oh, but I'm not really sure, or like, there's already so many people doing this. Like, I don't really know about da 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 da, But when you're having those conversations with people and just coming from the position that I am in, right? Knowing that I've been doing this for so many years. I've worked with so many clients, and I think it really helps them to feel good when I come in and I'm like, no, dude, like, this is an amazing idea. I haven't heard of anybody doing it this way. Like, I really think that this is something that you should pursue. This is absolutely something, like, if you want to do it, you can make it successful, And I think a lot of it is okay. And there's the aside of like, no, sure, we shouldn't need external validation from anyone ever. Okay. However, when it's a scenario specifically like the one that we're talking about here, like, that's my specialty, being in business. And so I think there is a lot to be said when you're coming into something and you are new, just talking to somebody who is farther ahead than you, who has gone that route, who maybe is even doing something similar, the exact same thing as you want to be doing, and just talking to them and getting their thoughts, because they're very easily going to be able to identify, oh, here's like, maybe we need to think about XYZ, but also this is really great, and even just having that, I feel makes people feel so much more confident
Yeah.
and believe so much more in what they're doing, having that outside perspective on somebody who's already been there, done that, who's farther ahead than they are. So, all of that to say, if you are somebody that is sitting over there and you have this idea and you're like, oh, but I don't really know, da, 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 like, just talk to somebody, like, go talk to Michelle. You can DM me, DM if there's somebody else that you look up to online right now that's doing something similar. Get past that fear hump and just reach out to them and talk to them, because at least I can speak for me and Michelle, like, I love when people ask me stuff like this. I know how scary it is in the beginning, being like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I should do this, like, this feels blah, blah, blah." And no, we're also, as you can probably tell based on what we said, we're not gonna pressure you to try to join things, Like, sure, I might be like, "Oh, when you're ready to dive into this," or, like, if you're really committed and you wanna make this a thing, like, "Here's this offer that would help you do it," but it's not gonna be a pressuring situation. Anyway, I just think that actually talking to somebody who's already been there, done that, can have a really big effect and a really big impact in helping people finally make that decision to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm in your mastermind. So in our calls, I come in with all of my hangups and excuses, and you just walk me through every single one. And like, you've given me so many practical. That's what I love about you. You're just, so practical. It's like, it's not as big as you're making it in your head. Let's break this down. Let's get this fear out of it. Like you're saying, what are some strategies you can implement? I mean, you've already mentioned time management being a problem for musicians. I think for me recently, this last year has been energy management has been a huge issue. So we've talked a lot about what do you need to cut out? Where are you going with your career? What do you actually want? And for someone who's in, coming out of a scarcity mindset, which I believe most musicians are in, because that's how we've trained, it's very scary to let go of things that you finally got your hands on because an opportunity comes and you think, wow, I waited for this for so long and it's working. Why would I let this go? Is that you're responsible of me? The other thing that you mentioned that I wanted to say, like, I learned so much from you about how to word things in a safe, opening, inviting way. Like when you're ready, you should come into our community, but still saying, I can see that our community would benefit you. So there's so much in that with like confidence in the selling, confidence in presenting yourself. I think so many musicians need to learn how to confidently trust when I pitch a concert, it's because I believe it's a good concert and not like, oh no, if you maybe think that I could be good. And, it's just, how did you get to this level of boldness and how do you coach other people to approach themselves like this?
It's funny because I think I always have kind of been this way, to be honest with you. I just didn't necessarily realize what I was doing until I started studying all of these things, and then you start diving into sales psychology and sales in general and marketing, and you realize that that kind of is it's a requirement. And even if you look at the difference of if I'm talking to somebody like, I don't know, let's say, Michelle, I'm talking to you right now and you're telling me about fast forward and I just spilled my guts and I'm telling you about all of these things that I have questions on and worries about. And I'm trying to book more gigs and trying to do this and that and whatever. And you're sitting over there and you're like, okay, yeah, actually, inside of fast forward, we have lessons on exactly XYZ, insert their words here, the things that they just said that they need help on.
Yeah.
And so these are things, I definitely know that coming inside of here, that's going to really help you with those things. We already have that set up. And of course, after you watch the videos, if you have any questions at all, just let me know. We're going to be there for you. We have the Q&A sessions, blah, blah, blah. Right. So like, does that sound like something that would be helpful for you? That's very confident. That's letting them know versus if you're like, oh my God, yeah, I know. Well, like that's something, I've dealt with that before too. And so if you think that that's something that you want to work on, maybe you could try this and this might help you, blah, blah, blah. Like that's like, okay, well, if I try and like maybe, and that's planting seeds of doubts in my brain. If I'm somebody that's already unsure, and then you're presenting me something like that, no, I'm not going to buy because I don't know if it's even going to help me. And the way that you're presenting it to me, it just sounds it's very
Yeah.
timid. And I'm like, if I'm choosing, especially as a classical musician, in when we're still dealing with this mindset issues, yes, we're definitely still in lack mentality, like you're saying. And so even investing in something that's going to be like $20 a month, that might be something that keeps me up at night, right? And so unless you are presenting it to me like the first way, right? Like, I know that these lessons are in here. This is going to help you. I've already been there, done all of this. And guess what? We also have our Q&A sessions. If you have any questions at all, I'm going to be there. You can ask me questions. Like, we fucking got this, like that makes me feel a lot better about spending the $20 a month, because I know even if the exact question that I have maybe isn't answered in the video, whatever, I still am going to have access to you to be able to ask you that question. I know you've already done it before, so I know you're going to be able to share what your experience has been like and help me get through that, right? Like, it's a totally different ballgame versus the person who's timid and like, oh, well, maybe blah, 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 like, I don't know. I still don't even know if you know what you're talking about if you talk to me like that. So it's kind of like what we were just talking about with they need to believe in you and they also need to believe in themselves, right? You need both pieces of that. So you have to present things confidently. And I know a lot of people, if we're talking again about people in the beginning, when we're doing this, they might be like, oh, well, I don't know. I haven't really, like, Nicole, I haven't worked with hundreds of clients yet, or I haven't even had any private clients, period, yet. Like, I don't know. I don't have the proof to like show this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the thing though. You are the proof of concept. If you did it for yourself, you already did it. That is experience. That is expertise. You're still a step ahead of the people who haven't even decided that they want to do the damn thing yet. That's exactly where I was that very first round when I launched CYC with one Instagram post. All I had done so far was do it for myself. That's all I did. But people kept asking me and they wanted to know because they hadn't even gotten to that point yet. So as long as you are, the rule of thumb for me is if somebody were to come up to you literally right now, okay, right this second, and be like, "Oh, Michelle, could you tell me about I know you've booked some gigs and like some performances. Would you be able to give me some pointers and tips to like help me be able to try to book some of my own gigs?" If your answer is yes, I could have a conversation with this person and give them some information and some ideas and some pointers and some tips. Cool. That means you have something valuable to offer because you have information that they do not currently have and it would be helpful for them. So great. Be confident about what you're able to tell them. Like, that information is going to be so freaking helpful to them. Because if you're thinking about a person who they've never even booked their own gig before, they've never even written a pitch email before, they've never even walked into a venue and been like, oh, do you do performances here? Like, they literally have no clue about any of that. So any information that you give them at that point is going to be so valuable to them and could potentially lead to, if they take action on it, them now being able to book their own gigs and go turn that into a sustainable revenue source for them, right? So as long as somebody could come up to you right now and you know that you could give them some pointers, some hot tips, whatever, and it's going to help them, great, amazing. Like, feel confident in what you're doing. There's literally no reason for you to not feel confident that you can provide value of some sort.
Yeah, that is so helpful for all of our musicians listening who want to get more students for their teaching studio, or what you already said, like, why would anyone listen to me when everyone else is already doing this already, or just finding their own unique edge on it. If you have something to share, then you have something of value. Okay, those are our beginners. Talk to someone like how I was with you a year ago, where I started to see success, but I didn't want to share about it because I don't want to become arrogant. I don't want people to think, who is this girl think she is? Like, how do you deal with that kind of mindset?
Ooh, well, that one, it's a whole different level because then really we're digging into like the societal bullshit, right? And I mean, obviously, like in this specific scenario, we're both women. What are women taught to do in this world, right? Like, oh, you're a good girl, you have to be ladylike. Don't brag. You don't want to make other people feel bad, blah, 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 right? And then, especially if we're looking at, then we take the classical music world. Okay, cool. Well, how often is it that people are posting like, "Oh, I'm so excited to announce blah blah blah." It's literally freaking like memes on the internet now that people are like, "Oh, I never want to see a I'm excited to announce post again," because people get their panties so far in a freaking bunch versus just being happy for people. So then we have, double whammy of societal shit. We have classical musician shit that we have to unwork for us to even feel comfortable sharing publicly something awesome that we did, which, can we just think about that for a second, how shitty that is? We have to be made to feel bad to share when something good happens to us because other people are gonna judge us because of all of this societal bullshit. Like, in my opinion, That's the fucked upness of this, okay? That other people are making us feel bad about sharing the things that we've done that are awesome and that we want to celebrate. That should be celebrated, you know? So, one of the ways, tangible tip, because I like tangible, is when you're doing things like this, I do think that there is a tactful way of going about these things, right? Especially when we're talking about the world of, say, online business. We see so many people that are like, oh, I just had a $10,000 launch. Okay, sure, but there's a tactful way to talk about that, you know? So something like that, I would yes, still celebrate it, but maybe present it in more of a case study, right? Like, "Oh, my last launch was generated $10,000 in revenue, and yeah, I wanna celebrate the fuck out of that because that's freaking awesome, and I'm so proud of myself, but also I wanna bring you into this too and break down exactly how I did this. That way we can all benefit from this. And then break down the strategy of what you did, you know? So obviously that's taking a business specific example, but there are ways to go about these things where you can celebrate what you did, but also the empathetic portion of this, right? Knowing that it's also going to be triggering for a lot of people. How can we do this in a way that's also going to bring them into it as well? I think that that's one practical way to think about it is, first of all, yeah, please, if you ever find yourself thinking like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna share about this because, like, it's so cool, but I don't want people to get mad at me." First of all, like, please, if that ever happens, let that be a massive red flag in your brain, like, "Wait, what the fuck? Why am I thinking this right now?" Like, that's please, just don't. Just don't. Just celebrate yourself, please. But also, like, how can we say it in a tactful way, knowing that the reality is it probably is going to be triggering other people? However, how can we say things in a way where, yeah, we're still celebrating us and celebrating the fact that, like, yeah, you fucking did that. Okay. And let's talk about it because that's freaking awesome. But in a way that is also inspiring someone or giving them, tools to be able to do it themselves. Right.
Yeah, and I think you've done that so well and you teach that so well to think about your audience first and including people and bringing them in. And, for me, it's like I played 10 concerts across Europe. I've played for 100,000 people in the last 2 years. There's a balance. Like we want to establish authority. When we are asking people to invest in our mastermind, it's because we want to say, you can trust us because we've done this and this and this, but there's this balance of, yeah. And I think you've taught me a lot how to think like this. And it's always about, as you're saying, including the audience and saying, let's inspire you to reach your next level because then everybody wins.
Yes. Yeah, community over competition. You getting something good and amazing and wonderful is not taking it away from other people. We can all have good, amazing, wonderful things. And oh, that's one of the things that really drives me nuts about the classical music world because that is so ingrained in our brains, right? Like, oh, if I win that principal job, then that means everybody else just got, booted. But like, okay, there's so many other ways to make a living in this industry. Like, just because something good happens to you doesn't mean that it is taking away from other people.
Yes, that is such an amazing point I want to highlight. And as well, for me personally, it was okay, either you can lower yourself down to the levels that people feel comfortable around you, or you can rise higher and let them be inspired by you. And that was a big shift in my thinking too, because when people start thanking you for being inspiring, you're like, okay, I think I'm hitting on something good here that's authentic, that I don't have to diminish myself, which is something that I learned my whole life. Make yourself small. Don't make other people uncomfortable. You don't want to become arrogant or be seen as arrogant, and of course, I've had to learn
Mhm.
filters and being careful, as you're saying, about sharing things. But yeah, not reducing who we are in order to make people around us feel comfortable. And that's something that I've really just loved about working with you.
Thanks. And yeah, I also just have to note with that, yes, online, but also in your actual real life relationships too, people. Okay. If you have any friends that you are having to like, oh, I feel like I can't talk about that because they're gonna get mad, or a freaking relationship, like your, romantic partner. No, no, you should not ever have to do that in any of your relationships. Okay. It translates to all areas, not just social media. So that's that on that.
So Nicole gives incredible advice and wisdom on not only your website marketing, digitals, but also relationship advice. We can learn it all from you. I love it. We love to finish our episodes with one key takeaway, one practical thing that somebody can do right now. Do you have anything after this conversation that people could go run and do?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So we've talked a lot about social media, right? In Nicole world, it's Fuck Around and Find Out Fall. We're currently doing that in Mastermind, and CYC, Fuck Around and Find Out Fall, started last year. And so we're just doing it every year. So in honor of Fuck Around and Find Out Fall, I would like to encourage everybody that this week, okay, I want you to think of one thing in your specific industry, world, whatever, that you like very strongly disagree with. And you've seen other people talk about whatever, and you're just like, I think this is like the stupidest shit, or like this makes me really upset, or this makes me really mad, or like nobody's saying this and somebody needs to say it. Something that like you're gonna type out and you're gonna go want to hit post and you're gonna be like, oh my God, oh my God. And you're gonna be sitting there and you're not gonna want to do it. Do it. That's what I think. That's your Fuck Around and Find Out Fall challenge for this week. Do it. And I promise you, because yes, I've been there many times, many, many, many times. I know Michelle has too. And guess what? Those are always the posts that do the best, because I guarantee you that there are hundreds of other people out there that are thinking the same thing you are, feeling the same thing you are, but they are too afraid to post it. And so by you doing that, you are giving a platform and giving a voice for all of those people out there who feel the same exact thing, but they are too scared to say it and talk about it. Now, again, we can still say things tactfully, okay? So we don't want to like bash people or do attacking or whatever. Like, we're not canceling things. This is not cancel culture, okay? We're not TMZ. We can be tactful, but we can still share our opinions and how we think about things and how we feel about things in a way that's going to make so many other people feel so seen, feel so heard, and be like, oh my God, the years that I've been feeling this, right? So there you go. There's your practical challenge. And when you do it, tag me and Michelle on Instagram so that way we can come comment and we'll hype you up and we'll be like, oh my God, yes, thank you. Yes. So there you go. There's your, if you choose to accept it, your Fuck Around and Find Out Fall challenge.
That is an amazing challenge. I actually know what mine is because I've been thinking about it this week and I was a little bit nervous to talk about it. So I'm going to do it. I'll tag you. Tagging, how can people find you? How can they work with you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. As I said, I'm an Instagram girly. That's where I spend most of my internet time. It is just my name, at Nicole Riccardo, Riccardo. My website is also my name. If you are interested in any of these things working together, it's pretty much all on my website, or you can just DM me. Yeah, I have CYC, I have the Instagram Academy, and we have Mastermind. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything, just reach out and let me know. And that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Nicole, thank you so much for not only this conversation, but your investment in our calls. Everything you do, you put 100% effort and enthusiasm into. I love your energy so much. You always make me laugh and you always hold me to what I'm saying to you that I want to do. So thank you. And also for everyone at TFA, like your impact has been enormous in our community. So I'm super grateful for you.
Thank you. I love you so much. And I can't wait until we actually like go get cocktails together in person. And I'm just going to squeeze you for 10 minutes.
That'll be the day. It's going to happen. Cool. Everybody listening, screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, tag Nicole Riccardo and the Fearless Artist Mastermind, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the Fearless Artist Podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share this podcast with a friend. To join our membership or one of our coaching programs, visit our website at thefearlessartistmastermind.com. This episode was produced by Pokey Huang at PH Media Studios in New York City. We're Deanna and Michelle, encouraging you to create your own opportunities and to go after what you want. You have what it takes to build the career of your dreams. Until next time, be fearless.